This week's guest is going to absolutely blow your mind. At just the age of 22, he's accomplished to become a millionaire, a real estate developer, an options trader, and he holds events along with public speaking for himself. This man has had a crazy story in his life, and he is about to share it all with us. So, if you don't mind, please join me in welcoming on a really great friend of mine, Mr. Simon Lerner. All right, the man, the myth, the legend, Simon Lerner. I'm so excited to have you on here, man. You inspire me like crazy. I can't even imagine, like some of the stuff that you've been through at 22 years old. Some of the accomplishments you've already had is just inspiring. So I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Scott, thanks for having me, and I look forward to building this friendship, relationship with you over the next decades to come. Not years, but decades, because I see long-term vision for us working projects together, just be close friends, travel together, and impact lives. So thanks for having me on, and
yeah, man,
looking forward to delivering some value for the audience, and keeping it nice and sweet, because I know we have some dinners afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. You so I don't even know where to start, man. You have so much going on. You've accomplished so much, and I guess let's just kind of let's preface it by you just built 3 houses in Tampa. You just built 3 houses.
And maybe if you want to take a little step back and actually talk about how we met, and I just hit you up on Instagram, and then we scheduled, a time to meet up, and I showed you around Tampa, and I do remember vividly, you were like, Simon, I don't think I've met many people like you before, something like that. And that really stuck me in, right? Yeah, it resonated with me, so thank you for that.
But, absolutely, man. So some backstory is I remember we connected Instagram, right? That's kind of how everything started for me. I was trading by myself in New York City, left the New York Stock Exchange, came onto did my own thing, started trading options, and I started this brand, obviously Next Era, and then I connected with so many people, and I kept seeing your name pop up on social media, Mr. Simon Lerner, Mr. Simon Lerner. I was like, who is this guy? He's always connecting with everybody I meet. It's Ashton Nolan, it's Jay Dunn Trades from Team Bull Trading. It's Blake from Airbnb Profits. There's so many places that you're following everybody. I was like, who is this guy? And it's kind of crazy to finally be able to meet you when I came down here for the first time. And you're like, I'm building 3 houses. I'm trading. I'm hosting events. I'm all over the world. I'm like, this guy he's a killer. He's a killer. So I'm very happy that I got to connect with you.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into it. Let's get into how have you done the things you've done so quickly, so fast?
Yeah, for sure. So, quick and sweet little rundown of who I am and who it is that I am and where I'm from. I'm Simon, 22 years old, was originally born and raised in Russia. My parents are both Russian. Was born there, lived there until I was 12 and a half, 13 years old. Then my parents split up when I was 2, so I was raised by a single mom for the majority of my life. She brought me to America at the age of 13 to pursue higher education, because in her view, she grew up in communist Russia. Education was the only path to real freedom and security.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, times have changed, and it's not the case anymore. Obviously, education is still important, but self-education is available now. But in her views, traditional education in college was super important. She wanted me to get a college degree. Obviously, that didn't happen, and ended up dropping out. Sorry, Mom. So came to America at 13, barely spoke any English, didn't know anybody or had any friends. Moved to New York just because she had a friend there, and she spoke highly of the school on Long Island where we stayed, but pretty much didn't know anybody. Didn't have, I would say, any real person I could call a friend until I was 18 years old. And for that reason, from ages of 13 to 18, I would pretty much run back home right after the final bell rang, instead of staying at extracurriculars, clubs, hanging out with kids. And I kind of got to skip a lot of that drama in high school, partying, drugs, and I literally just went home to play video games on my computer, because that's the only way I knew how to connect with people and friends, because they spoke my language. I didn't have to be awkward in person. I could kind of, have a screen in between me and everybody else. So I didn't get that judgment projected onto me. Whereas in person, I got a lot of judgment projected onto me, as in, people made fun of, like, oh, he's different, he's from communist Russia, like, who is this kid, why is he here, he doesn't speak proper English, whatever it may be. So I didn't like that. I was like, let me go just play video games, make friends online. So that's how I kind of got into, making friends on the internet and normalized it.
Yeah.
So in the process of that, I was playing games like TF2, Team Fortress 2, CSGO, like all those games, and I was also trading the virtual items that were there in the game, certain skins and hats. In FIFA, you have, certain crates you can open and characters and all that kind of stuff. And I pretty much got into flipping those items virtually and selling them for PayPal. I've gotten so many banned PayPal accounts with a couple of $100s because I wasn't 18 and I kept making accounts and, was selling those digital items for, money when I was 15, 16, 17, because a lot of kids, they had jobs, and I was like, I don't really, I like playing video games and being on my computer, so let me try that. The biggest kind of thing I learned from that, the biggest mindset shift for me that really, I feel like, propelled me into entrepreneurship was that I proved to myself in an early age that strangers on the internet are willing to give you money, whether it's for products, services, goods, or anything. And at that point, a limiting belief that, you can't make money online, all that kind of stuff was defeated. So I was like, from the age of 15, 16, already making a couple $100s here and there. And then that's when I also started getting into crypto a little bit because people, would talk about alternative payment methods because, again, they didn't like using PayPal and sending money and having it held. And a lot of us were underage, under 18, just kids trying to buy and sell virtual items. So I got introduced to Bitcoin, like all that kind of stuff at the age of maybe 17, 2017.
5 years ago, right?
I feel like Bitcoin back then was about $1,200-$1,300, but I didn't buy any until it was probably $3,000-$4,000.
Yeah.
That was the first time I bought it. So, in the 3-4 years I was playing those video games, I was able to trade up and sell enough items online to video game players to have probably 15, 20 grand saved up.
Wow.
But again, that's over a period of 3 years,
Yes, no. But 18,
still,
19 years old.
Yeah, but still at 50, from 15 to 18 to have 15 grand saved up while, everybody else is just partying their life away and has no clue what to do with their life. I didn't either.
Yeah.
But I was kind of, ahead. I had the kind of right focus.
Yeah.
From there, I was like, I have this money saved up. Let me try to multiply it and double it. And I threw some of it into crypto, which grew, by luck, obviously. Didn't know anything about stocks or trading or technical analysis, but graduated high school, went off to college to become an engineer, was studying mechanical engineering because that's what was considered a safe job, high-paying job, 6-figure job right out of college.
Where'd you go?
I went to Delphi University.
Okay.
So I went for that for the first semester, and I was still on my own free time after school and classes. Now, instead of playing video games, getting into crypto and learning up on stocks, and I wanted to get better at that.
Yeah.
So the pivot happened there in my freshman year of college, of being exposed to the crypto opportunity, the stock trading world, and made a small pivot to start learning about that. In the meanwhile, I was still attending engineering classes, and I realized that I deeply hated it because I felt no passion towards it. I didn't find myself to be as nerdy as all the other kids and passionate about equations, math. I was more always like a people person, building relationships and trying to, because that's what I lacked growing up. I lacked relationships. I lacked friendships. I wanted to be in communities and groups, and college was a fresh start for me in that department because that's something I never got in high school.
Yeah.
But now that I came to college, it was a fresh start. Nobody knew me. I had a fresh slate to make friends and make a different impact than I did when I came from Russia at 13.
Yeah.
So to fast forward 6 months, first semester ended, I made the switch from engineering to business because my mom was like, you need to stay in school, you need to get educated. But I was like, if you want me to stay in school, I need to switch to something I like and enjoy.
Yeah.
She's like, whatever. Go do your business thing, switch to a finance major, and was starting to take classes like economics, business 101, all that kind of stuff. And on the way to school and back from school, I was already listening to business podcasts by people like Andy Frisella, Grant Cardone, because I was like, I really want to get ahead in this.
Inspired, right?
And one thing that really stuck with me, and the reason I dropped out of college, was after a realization I had in freshman year, maybe a month and a half into my second semester, the first semester of business, second semester in school. I was already, again, trading stocks and crypto on the back end. Didn't really understand it that well, but it was making progress. Wasn't really losing too much money, wasn't making too much money, kind of a break-even trader here and there. But again, wasn't doing it full time or taking it seriously enough to see any progress.
But learning, right? So
Right. And I was trading Tesla at the time, I remember. And one day after class, I went up to my economics teacher, and he was, during that lecture, talking about the S&P 500, Dow Jones, how the markets work, market participants, you have buyers and sellers, what the New York Stock Exchange is, how transactions are made, and all that stuff. And I'm like, listen, I really found your lecture interesting today. I'm already dabbling in trading on the side. I want to get, that seems like what I want to pursue farther. Engineering wasn't for me. I'm already trading Tesla and a couple of stocks on the side. I was wondering, what kind of advice do you have for me? Should I buy more of the stock? Should I sell it? What do you think about it? And he said something that really stuck to me. He said, Simon, I can't give you any advice on what to do with your Tesla position because I'm personally not invested in the stock market. My wife doesn't let me trade stocks. She thinks it's gambling.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a second. So I'm sitting here accumulating debt to learn from a professor who drives a 1996 Toyota Camry. His wife doesn't let him trade or invest. Why is he qualified to give me advice, and why am I collecting $200K of debt? I was like, I need to get the hell out of here and find better ways to get myself educated, because I made the analogy of the apple doesn't fall far away from the tree. If you were the apple or multiples of apples, and the professor is the tree that the apples grow on and absorb information and knowledge from and wisdom from, if you have a shitty tree, the apple's going to turn out shitty as well. So,
yeah, for sure. It's crazy
that was the turning point, and I was like, I need to go learn from people who actually have results and expertise in areas, and are actually doing the things that I want to be doing, not just a professor who in theory knows how to do something, because there's a lot of people who know how to do something in theory, but they've never done it, so you shouldn't take advice from them. So for example, you wouldn't go to a gym and walk up to a guy who's 300 pounds overweight asking him how to get a six-pack, right? Because he doesn't have a six-pack. In theory, he may know that, hey, you need to be in a caloric deficit, you need to progressively overload, you need to, watch your diet and eat 1 gram per body weight of protein, yada, yada, yada. Even though he knows all those things, he doesn't have the result or the desired outcome I'm going after, so I'm not going to take advice from him. I'm going to learn from somebody who has walked the talk, right? And that's what I realized at an early age of 18 and a half, 19. But I also understood that, again, education is super important. That was instilled in me from childhood, how I was raised, so I need to find alternative ways to educate myself. Since I was, already getting into entrepreneurship and listening to podcasts on the way to and from school, I was familiar with Grant Cardone, Andy Frisella, all those people. And that was when actually the 10X Grow Conference 3 was coming up in Miami.
Wow.
So I was like, I'm not in school, but I still want to learn. Let me change the source I'm learning from, so let me go to this event. And I took my money I had saved up, spent it on a trip to Miami, bought a ticket, flew down to the conference. It was the biggest entrepreneur conference ever. At the time, it was 30,000 people. Spent a lot of money that I had saved up in a hotel, flight, tickets to the event. And I went there, and I was like, okay, this is better than college or high school, because the people that are giving you the information and the advice are actually doing the thing. They're making money. They're billionaires, millionaires, whatever, running actual businesses. I want to take advice from them, but I don't like the delivery method, because there's 30,000 people in a room. I can't go up to them and sit down like we're sitting down right now and be like, hey, Grant, can we sit down for 30 minutes? I want to show you my real estate portfolio, ask some questions that cater to me, and get some personalized advice. Because you got to realize, when there's 30,000 people and you go up to give advice to them, there's people from different countries, different ages, different, everything is different for each and every person. Somebody might have, $50,000 in debt, and somebody might have $5 million to invest. You can't give the same advice to those two people, because they're at different points in their life. And I realized that. I was like, okay, I like that there's practicality there, but I don't like the delivery method. Let me do this how I would want to learn, and I was like, let me build this myself. I want to learn. I want to continue growing, networking, and learning about business. So let me build a platform, a community where I have something that I was lacking through college and through going to big conferences. Because at the big conferences, what I observed is that it's just a bunch of motivational bullshit because it has to cater to everybody.
Yeah.
Speakers go on stage saying, "Hey guys, I'm so and so. I've made $10 million doing X, Y, and Z. If you want to learn how to do same, you got to buy my course or program." Right? And it turned into a sales fest. So I was like, what did I like about this, and what did I not like about the large event? I was like, I like the fact that there are speakers who actually run businesses and companies that have experience. I didn't like the fact that there was a very large speaker to attendee ratio, that for every speaker there's 10,000 attendees. There's no way that you can meet everybody. I didn't like that you didn't build close relationships with people at the event. It was just a random passing out of business cards, and then I came to the hotel at the end of the night and I looked at a stack of business cards and started scrolling through them. I'm like, I don't even remember who this person is. There's a phone number and name. What does he do again? Where's he from? What's the story? Like, I didn't know anything about the person. I'm like, that's no way to network, right? I need to do something better. So then I was like, let me do this myself and give it a shot and see if I can do it the way I'd want, this to be done.
And how old are you at this point?
I was almost about to turn 19.
Okay.
So that was in February of 2018, and I turned 19 in March of 2018 or 19.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, let me do this myself, and I'm like, I need a name. How can I name this where it makes sense? So I came up with NetCon, which stood for networking conference, or however you want to break it down. Networking and making connections.
Okay.
However you want to go about that, right? And I pretty much started building my brand around NetCon, which is what I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
And obviously since then we've pivoted and grown and learned a lot of lessons. But the first conference I hosted, I was 19 years old, just turned 19. Had 12 speakers at the event who obviously had businesses. Some were that I met at that previous conference, and I leveraged the connection to have them introduce me to more of the speakers. Used my brand on social media that I kind of started building through college, because as I was trading and doing all that stuff, I was just posting and documenting. I'm like, hey, just
this is what I did.
Not giving advice, but just posting about the stuff I'm buying and selling in terms of stocks and equities, just motivational quotes, all that stuff. And I started amassing a couple of hundred, maybe a couple of thousand followers. Maybe I had 2,500 followers at that point or something. So hosted the first conference in April of 2019, and that's pretty much the some of it. Obviously, we've gotten since there, but I don't want to talk for another half an hour about the conference side of things. So.
Yeah, no, that's a lot to unpack, and it all starts with moving from Russia, and not even. So you didn't know English at all when you first came here.
I mean, I knew enough to do the basic stuff because English was a mandatory class when I was growing up there. But I didn't have the accent. I didn't.
Yeah. So you sound like you speak perfect English now. So.
Well, it's out of circumstance. You put yourself against the wall and you burn all the ships in a way, and there's no other choice than to learn.
Yeah.
You either adapt or you die. There's no in between.
Yeah, it's crazy. So your back's kind of against the wall at the age of 13. You said you would have moved over here. So you're
and so that's been that.
Yeah, hell yeah. So a conference at 19 years old, and how did it turn out? You said 19 speakers. How are you?
We had 12 speakers, a little bit over 85 attendees, between 80 and 100 attendees. I don't remember.
Wow.
And all those people.
First one.
Yeah, and all those people paid between $200 and $1,000 to come to the event. We didn't make any money on the event. My other thing that I forgot to mention, about the events, because I said I listed out pros and cons of things I want to happen, didn't like, and the other thing I didn't like at those big events or conferences is that it turned into a pitch fest. It's like people spend their precious money, time, energy to travel to go to the conference to support you, and they already paid for a ticket, and then
you got to pay for more.
Yeah. On top of that, for them to receive the full value, quote unquote. Right, because value is a big word. We'll talk about that later if you want to. But now you're trying to sell them a program for $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 on top of everything that they paid and went through to go there. So I will not let any of my speakers pitch anything or sell any product, services, or offers from stage. I myself will not do the same. Right? Because the thing is, if you genuinely provide value to people and you have a product and service to offer, they will find a way to become a client, become a client of yours, right? whether it's through following you on social media. The thing is, they know that there's a need for them, for that particular product or service, then they will obviously seek for where to sign up, how much it is, all that kind of stuff. But
For sure.
I obviously didn't want it to turn into a sales fest, so none of our speakers offer anything. It comes with drawbacks because majority events, they make all their money from the sales on stage and from the stuff they sell, not from the front end tickets, right? So, from studying and being in the event space for quite some time, even big people like Tony Robbins, they host events with, there are 5,000 hours to attend, and they have 5,000 people at the event, but they still lose money on the front end ticket sales. They make all the money on the back end selling masterminds and programs and stuff like that. So, those events weren't really profitable for me. I didn't make a lot of money or probably any money from the events. But I've made so many connections that I've then leveraged, so many new friendships, so many new opportunities came out of this, right? Because nowadays it's not necessarily so much about what you know. What you know is super important, obviously,
Of course.
but it's who you have access to in your network and what those people know and what they can, introduce you to, what kind of opportunities, what kind of other people they can connect you with, right? And I understood that at a very early age. So understanding that, I became the connector. My whole, thing, you've probably experienced it firsthand, is to connect people, because I want to introduce people to new opportunities, new ways to collaborate and make money or do fun things together. Because you got to realize that this is where value is created, and the word value is vague. People throw out the word, let me provide you with value, like buzzwords. You probably got a bunch of people DMing you, hey, I want to provide value to you. Let me edit videos for you for free. But you got to realize that, to provide value, you need to solve a problem for somebody.
For sure.
Right? And I realized that I, most of the time, do not have the skill set or the know-how to provide value to somebody, but I still want it to be valuable. And I'm like, how can I provide value to this person? And it clicked for me. I'm like, I can just make an introduction between that person and somebody that has the know-how and the skill set to provide value to the person. And then I automatically become valuable to both sides just by facilitating an introduction. So, for example, you may need a website built for your next community or program or whatever it may be. Guess what? I don't know coding, I don't know website softwares, I don't know Webflow, any of that kind of stuff. I know about it. So if you just put it out there, hey guys, I need a website built, most of the people would look at, I don't know how to build a website, I can't be valuable to Scott. My thinking is, who do I know in my network from all the people that I've met at events, at conferences, and everything that is specialized in that? Let me make an introduction between Scott and, let's say, James, who specializes in website development, digital marketing, all that kind of stuff. And then by making that introduction, I automatically become valuable to you because you didn't have anybody to build your website. Now you have access to somebody through the introduction for me. And for James, I'm also valuable because I just most likely brought him business and brought him a client, right? And that way, he can give me a commission. You will introduce more opportunities to me, and that's kind of the approach I've taken.
It's so funny you say that. So. Dude, it's funny you say that because I remember the first time that we met, I can't remember what it was about, but we met briefly. I came over to your house briefly, and we talked about.
I remember we watched a hockey game for a bit.
Yeah. And then I came over for a little bit. You introduced me to a couple of people, and then I went back to New York City, and there was a trader that was also in Hoboken that you knew, and you just randomly Jay, you just randomly put us in a group message, and you're like, hey Jay, hey Scott, this is, I don't know if you guys have anything to work on together, but maybe this connection will find you well. Thanks, and then you just kind of take it from there. And you just kind of drop the mic and you just go. And I'm like, damn, this guy just moves different, and it's like,
and you two have the same cars too.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
There's just one similarity that you find, and you're like, these guys would be great. Connection there, and then you do it, and then you don't expect anything in return. It's so admirable and inspirational.
No. The other thing I like that you mentioned is not expecting anything in return. It's doing things out of goodwill, and guess what? Karma will take care of things, and goodwill will take care of things.
Absolutely.
Obviously, don't let people take advantage of you and walk over you.
Of course.
That's where having a number of reps doing this over and over and over again helps, because your BS meter for people and people's intentions gets trained.
Yeah.
Because obviously we all have been in business, we all have been screwed over, taken advantage of, and things of that nature. But as you keep doing this more and more and more, you start, from the first interaction, first 10 minutes of interaction with somebody, I immediately know if they're, high status person, a low status person, if they are needy, if they, have insecurities, if they, just try to brag about how well their business is doing and everything. I'm like, oh, well, that's good.
You can recognize
like
it.
it's not impressive to me. Like, I don't care, how much your business makes. I know people in my network who are billionaires and who have sold companies for multiple 7, 8, 9 figures, and just you spending 50K a month on ads or signing your 10K a month client. Like, I'm like, okay, why are you putting that there? But
for sure.
nonetheless, that's a side topic.
We've kind of different topic.
Drifted into it. But.
I guess I kind of like some people just get excited about what they're doing, but I can see where you're coming from, like how they can how it's just a different game to some people. But so you did all this at 19. You're still in school when you're hosting this conference?
No. So I already dropped out. So as I said, I dropped out. I went to the 10X conference, and then because I was like, I still need to learn, and then I was like, well, this isn't good. Let me do this myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So walk us through this conference. It didn't make money, but you did find the value. Well, it maybe made a little bit of money.
Yeah, it made a
couple dollars.
Couple of dollars.
Couple of dollars. Okay.
I know it was between $1 and like $5,000.
Okay, cool.
Like,
So
not more than 5K, but the thing is, it was just an R1 of my time. But then, guess what? From there, obviously, I approached it because I saw what the people at the big events were doing, and again, I try to be the most nittiest and grittiest person, taking notes on everything that I liked, didn't like, what they were using for audio equipment. What else were they doing? Oh, they were recording content. Why are they recording content? Oh, they maybe want to sell tickets to the next conference or brand it or get testimonials. So I picked up on all that. So the first conference I had catering, I had an AV team, I had 6 videographers and photographers taking I built out a whole team, again leveraging my network and people that I met through a college that were in my classes, people that I just went on Craigslist, people I DM'd on Instagram, people that the speakers connected me with, and I had one person going up to every time getting testimonials. I had one person just focused on taking pictures and headshots of everybody. And again, think about providing value. I told somebody, hey, every single speaker that's up there, take as many good pictures of them as possible. Guess what? After the event, without even anybody asking me for it, I sent all the speakers pictures and portraits and everything of them on stage, positioning themselves as authority figure. That's valuable for them. Now they can post it on social media, tag my event page, and I piggybacked off of that a lot, right? Otherwise they would have to flown out their own videographer, and a lot of speakers didn't have their own videographer. It's expensive. You got to pay for somebody else. You gotta know that, and now all of a sudden you just wake up to a DM. Here's a 40-minute keynote that you gave in a video format and 2 different angles. Here's all the pictures of you. All I ask for you is if you post them, just tag me.
And you fronted all of this, just for
that.
And were you using this with the money that you made on the internet flipping for a little bit?
Yeah, internet flipping, a little bit of trading. Like whatever money I had access to was between maybe 10 and 30K that I had access to. So
would you say that all the years that you spent in school, right, trying to learn the system, and you figuring out that, okay, this guy can't teach me what I want to know, would you say that you going to Miami and then starting your own event in such a short amount of time taught you more in that short amount of time than all of your schooling?
Yeah, I think we had a conversation about this before the podcast that we sat down. We were just grabbing pizza, walking up the stairs, and I said that a lot of people don't get started because they feel like they need clarity and a whole plan of from A to Z what to do.
Yeah. Right.
And that is just incorrect, because clarity comes from progress. You get clear on what next steps to take to get to your goal by chipping away at it, and then new opportunities open up. You learn new things as you go, get connected to new people, new doors get open to you, and then you can leverage that to continue building or pivot to a different vision and go from there. But for me, I've always been a big believer, and that's just how I am, of learning by doing. Some people learn by taking notes, which is not a great way to learn because it's not practical. Some people learn by video, by listening, by going to events. I just learn by doing. For me, let's talk about the houses I'm building. I needed to do it for tax purposes, whatever. And just to backtrack, I'm also a big believer of burning the ships and going all in, right? Not being 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
So for me, for a lot of individuals, they're like, oh, I want to get into, let's say, Airbnb or real estate development. For Airbnb, they may start off with a small 1-bedroom apartment, arbitrage. They'd furnish it, and then they'd move into a 2-bedroom, apartment. They'd lease it and sublease it, and then release it to other people that want to rent and make some money that way. Or with real estate development, let's say you want to build a house, you'd get a bunch of financing and pull some money together, and then you maybe for your first project build a 2-bedroom house. For me, I was like, I want to get into real estate development. Let me buy for my first project, I bought a $500,000 parcel of land and built 3 massive homes that are like 3,000 square feet each. And guess what? I've never done it before. I've never had experience. I FTFO. FTFO is my acronym that stands for figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how I've approached everything. Same with Airbnbs right now. I am setting up 4 luxury, 3,000 to 4,000 square foot homes as Airbnbs at the same time, even though I've never really had experience with Airbnbs. I compress time so much by burning the ships and going all in that my learning gets accelerated so drastically. Same thing with trading. A lot of people say don't do it, but I jumped right into real life trading, not paper trading.
Yeah.
Right. Even though for all my students I preach, please start with paper trading. I am a big proponent of burning all the ships, going all in, and really chipping away and executing at it. Because for me, how I'm wired, maybe some people are wired differently. I can't stand the shit where you're like, again, you just dabble into a little bit. Let me paper trade. Let me click the button. Oh, this is how this works. I paper trade, never trade with real money, but I don't think this is for me. For me, it's like fund an account, go trade, or
put some money at risk.
Buy a piece of land, build a house, then figure it out whether you like it or not. Right?
For sure.
And then again, the amount of things I've learned by doing those things rather than going to events or taking notes or watching videos is so much vastly greater.
For sure.
And in such a smaller period of time because you have nothing else to do but to figure the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, like I'm working on building myself 2 custom homes in St. Pete over the bridge here, and again, I'm figuring it out as I go. But I committed to it. I bought the parcel of land. I paid an architect, $25,000. Now I'm, and I had to learn all the things and figure them out as the process. Guess what? I've never read an architectural plan. I've never worked with an architect before. Didn't know what to look for in a builder. But you figure those things out
as you go.
Because now you need to. You put yourself in a position where there's no backing out. You already spend, $400K on, let's say, land. There's, you can't just leave it there.
It's financing and interest and all that
exactly.
stuff.
People involved, and you have contracts signed.
Yeah.
Now, guess what? You don't know something. Find a way to get to know it.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. That's crazy, man. It's crazy how it's funny because you're like the FTFO situation or your acronym is like it kind of plays into like your whole lifestyle because from 19 to 22 now you're doing all of these different things, and I don't think we touched on the aspect of you actually are mostly, or maybe not so much anymore, you're more into real estate, but you are a stock market trader, you're an options trader, you ran a community as well, right?
So again, I pivoted with Netcon. I started off with events, and again, I've observed what other people that are successful in the field do. Let's say 10X from the event side. I observed how is that structured, what kind of other companies do they have, how do they cross-sell, upsell, what kind of value ladders do they build up for their clients and customers. So we kind of mimicked and replicated. I don't want to say like copied a lot of things, but it's not. Sorry, let me backtrack. So what we have with Netcon is a parent company, which is Netcon Group, and then under it we have many sub-companies, which is Netcon Events, Netcon Trading Academy, Netcon Apparel, Netcon Mastermind. Things of that nature. Similar with 10X, they have their 10X parent company. They have 10X Health Systems with Gary Brecka that they just started. They have a 10X Events, 10X Consulting, 10X real estate fund, and they have all those smaller companies under that umbrella. So for me, I'm observing people that are successful in that field and then trying to mimic to an extent and learn and cherry pick things that resonate with me, that I like, that I see are working, and then change things to how I think they should be done if I don't resonate with or they're just not my style, my vibe. As I said with events, I'm not just copying things one to one. I'm taking things that I like, discarding things that I don't like and build around it.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
But there's obviously already so many, foundations out there. It's the same as, learning to trade. You find a mentor that has a trading style, or you go through a bunch of groups and you pick, a little bit from each and every person, and you make your own strategy.
Yeah.
Because I know that me, you, Umar, Jada, Ashton, everybody, we trade differently, right?
Yeah.
We all are profitable traders. We make money differently.
Yep.
And guess what? There's no right or wrong way. So a person can learn from everybody, cherry pick, see who they resonate with the most, and then go all in to learning that person's trading style the most, right? So in terms of trading, and right now I'm mostly a position trader and selling a lot of options.
Yep.
Just because it doesn't require as much TA on the charts and time involvement, just because, again, my hands are tied for the next couple of months with a lot of real estate projects.
Yeah.
The reason I'm kind of in between and involved in real estate, I'm very, very big on the fact that you need to focus. Focus is also an acronym that stands for follow one course until successful. And the thing is, I've been following one course of trading with one trading style, which is scalping, for a long period of time, and I've gotten successful with it and made a lot of money with it and taught a lot of people in the process. But now that I've gotten to it, obviously once you find success in one area, problems arise. A lot of people are like, oh, money solves all problems. Money only solves money problems. And then as, money is power in a way, because it lets you do certain things. But with power comes great responsibility. So, as you get more money, now you have to be more responsible. You have to, be more responsible about keeping and protecting that money that you made. And for me, it's like I was so focused on making it, so I made a bunch of money trading, and then I got hit with a massive tax bill of multiple six figures, and I was like, okay, let me take a step back. I still, do see myself trading and making money with that, but why would I just keep, putting all my energy and just keeping, scaling my trading skills and making a lot more money with that, if I know that the more money I make, the more money I'll pay in taxes? Let me take, half a step back, pivot slightly, and execute in a different environment, learn a bunch of things, meet new connections and introductions. But now that I've built out this, real estate portfolio and the way I have it structured, it's going to wipe out all of my tax needs, and I pretty much wouldn't have to pay taxes on all of my stuff, right? So
that's I actually just learned that in taxes, if it can offset your capital gains if you invest in real estate, because realistically you can write off all that depreciation.
Right. So there's that. Again, I'm not a tax professional, CPA, but there's two different types of income. There's earned income and there's capital income. So capital income is your capital gains. That's your real estate, buying and selling. That's there's a lot of stuff, so you can offset capital income with other capital assets such as real estate, which is pretty cool. And then you can depreciate real estate. So with real estate, there's a lot of bonuses, because you have depreciation that, you write off a bunch of things. You get cash flow, which isn't that important right now. It's the long-term appreciation, which is the other one.
Of course.
And you get a lot of leverage. Leverage is kind of a double-edged sword, because it's great because you get to control a lot with little. But if you're not careful with it, or you don't know what you're doing, it's easy to get burned. So that's the only thing. The other thing with real estate is, for me, it's a creative outlet in a way, because with trading, in a way, it's kind of depressing and boring, I realized, for me, because all you're doing is sitting by yourself by a computer, focused, looking at charts and screens and drawing rainbow lines in a way. And trying to make sense of it all. And then, if you have nothing else going around it, then your life is pretty simple, plain, and boring. It's like you wake up, you look at charts, you chart, you trade, even if you're profitable. But then what? There must be more to life. That's why, again, I want to build those umbrellas where I have an outlet for my creativity, which for me is real estate. I get a lot of my creativity out through real estate, because I get to see progress made in person. Like, when you first came out to the properties like less than a year ago, there was nothing there. Then next day we poured foundation, then framers came out, put the walls and stuff. Then you have the roof coming on, the windows, the drywall, and you can see change happening day by day by day. And that's not only creativity on the back end that went into designing the properties, picking everything from door colors and all that stuff. Like, that's fun for me. I was always growing up playing with Legos and all that kind of stuff for me, so it kind of resonates with that on a bigger scale.
Much bigger scale.
Yeah,
Legos to building houses.
Right. So That's the creative outlet. With the events, it's the people outlet. That's where my social outlet is. I get to chat with people, meet incredible people, hear their stories, get to know people, and then not only that, but also make money in the process, get doors open to new incredible opportunities that are business opportunities or people opportunities or travel opportunities, whatever it may be. Right.
Yeah.
That's why, again, I like trading, but that's not my only world, my only involvement. I want to have other ways to express myself, other things to get involved into, because again, life would be pretty freaking
boring,
plain and boring if all you did was wake up, look at charts.
Yeah.
Even if you have a community online, you're just talking to people online. You have no physical outlet.
Yeah.
So you miss out on a lot of experiences if you don't have a way to travel and meet new people and experience cultures. Like, that's what I'm all about.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of, again, seeing what other people are doing, taking things, copying things that resonate with me, or building around things that resonate with me, and discarding to see, discarding the things that I don't believe work for my personal style or approach. Again, everybody's different, but I see a lot of people that are trading making, 2 million a year or $500,000 a year or whatever, great numbers. But again, they're socially awkward. They don't know, let's say, how to talk to women. They don't know a different language. They've never traveled. They're not well-rounded. They're not cultured. They don't know a lot of things about life that other people do.
More than money, right?
So
that's
pretty much
crazy, man. By 22 years old, you have all this knowledge. It's incredible how you have taken just I don't like school. That one interaction with your professor, it's like, why am I learning from you if I have questions about a real life situation? You're teaching it, I'm not taking it from you. To now building 3 houses right in a row, and you're going to Airbnb them out, correct?
So one, I have a long-term tenant that moved in a day after we completed construction that's paying off the mortgage and more.
Yeah.
And then
real estate guys, crazy.
Right. And then the other 2 we're setting up as Airbnbs right now. Should be live on, I'd say, before March 15th, because I have things, plates and spinning.
Yeah, absolutely.
That department. So.
It's crazy. So there's so many things that we could dive into here, and I think the 22 years old thing just kills me, man. I just can't believe you.
23 in March. So
23 in March.
I'm
4 years.
Getting old.
4 years, it takes you from.
But I also live by that. I have a tattoo here that says your time is limited.
Yeah.
Time is one of those. Time and energy not so much, but those 2 assets are finite, because you only have limited time on this earth, and kind of have limited energy. Energy you can kind of recover. You go take a 6-hour nap. You get more energy to do shit. With time, it goes one way and it never looks back. So for me, it's how do I make the most use of my time? How do I, surround myself with people who respect my time, don't waste it? And I'm very big on, people respecting my time, showing up on time. And time is a big kind of common theme that's been throughout my life. So
correct me if I'm wrong here, but it kind of sounds like everything you're building is all going to come full circle at some point. They're all going to kind of interact with each other. The NetCon events, the trading events, it sounds like you could host trading seminars and travel, and the real estate is kind of offsetting those gains that you kind of, built over your 3 years that you've been building these companies out. Sounds like it's, all coming somehow, some way. Interesting, the puzzle.
You kind of see the vision behind it,
Yeah, for sure. It's great. It's a great vision, and it's I'm excited to see how it all unfolds. So talk us through a little bit about the real estate process. It seems like that's what you're passionate about right now. So
so for real estate, I'll tell you about all the ways to that. That was actually part of a speech I gave in Mexico last week, and I was speaking there with a couple of guests that you've had on your podcast, Joe Stiver, and you didn't have Ryan yet, but I'm sure you'll get a podcast with Ryan going soon. I talked about a lot of my real estate involvement, whereas last year I spoke at that event about trading and financial instruments and that stuff. And now I am big on speaking. Again, a little bit of a sidetrack. When I get flown out to speaking engagements, that's also a passion project for me to not only build my personal brand and credibility that will propel other projects forward, but also meeting new people and just having a voice and outlet to share my experiences with people who can resonate, who have similar experiences. With NetCon, I'm super passionate about this. I've never said it on a podcast, but at my last event, I had a kid come up to me, said he was in a super depressing period of his life. He, not only mentally, but also financially, didn't have much money to him. He had to sell furniture to buy a ticket to go to my event. And he said, "Dude, you made me reconsider committing suicide." Wow. I was like, damn, this is a great impact to have. I want to amplify it a million times, and have that kind of an impact on everybody. And the thing is, he was just, one person that came out to me, and I'm like, there must be people that are feeling the same way. They're just not speaking out about it because it's a sensitive thing to talk about. And, I felt for him, and I was like, damn, like this is the true capability of my impact and what I can kind of have. But
that's value. That's the
exactly.
value. No, that's what you
right.
Everything you're
so back to the real estate stuff. I mainly got into it because I needed to get a tax haircut for the next upcoming years. Then I started exploring and learning about different ways to make money in real estate by talking to people and networking and Googling and, just getting well-rounded and understanding how the whole space worked. There's a lot of ways to make money in real estate, just as there's a lot of ways to make money in stocks. So in stocks, for example, you can just trade shares and equities. You can go long or you can go short. You can trade options. You can trade derivatives. You can trade crypto futures. You can, sell options instead of buy options. You can do crazy strategies with with debit spreads, credit spreads, condors, butterflies, exactly. All those crazy strategies. There's many ways to make money. So similarly in real estate, there's many ways to make money. You can, let's say, be a real estate agent and just get to know a lot of people, sell houses, and get a fat commission check from selling luxury properties, right? You can be a wholesaler. So wholesaling is great if you have no money to you, but you have a lot of time because it requires a lot of time. You make phone calls. You pretty much, I'm not going to go down the whole rabbit hole explaining everything, but you can wholesale properties. You can fix and flip properties. You buy a property, you improve it, you sell it for a profit, right? You can do long-term rentals. You buy a property, you keep it, you rent it out to the tenant. You can do short-term rentals. Either you arbitrage or you buy a property and you rent it and run kind of a hospitality business, right? You can develop real estate, like what I'm doing. You building properties from scratch, tearing old properties down, developing new stuff. There's more, again, strategies that are not commonly talked about or known. So there's Section 8, which is like the government pretty much providing the tenants and paying for them on your behalf. You're more so like low-income housing. There's Sub 2. There is a lot more strategies, just like in trading. There's those like weird strategies. You're like, wait, you trade like iron condors? Like, I don't know a lot of people that only trade iron condors or something. But listen, if it's your thing and it makes you money, then stick to it, right? So with me, I was like, now that I've kind of briefly educated myself in all those ways to make money in real estate, let me write the pros and cons of each one of them. And this is mainly what my presentation was about for people there, because again, everybody's in a different place. How do you get started? I separated into buckets because there's two things I kind of valued. I'm like time and money. Those are the two, valuable things in real estate.
Yeah.
And I put those things I just listed into two different buckets. I'm like, which one can I do if I have no time but money? And which one can I do if I have no money but a lot of time? It's kind of hard to make money in real estate if you have neither, if you don't have any time to put into real estate or learn about it or whatever, and you have no money. But if you have one of the two, you can have different approaches to real estate and still be involved. The biggest misconception people have about being started with real estate is they use excuses that prevent them from getting started. A lot of people will say, oh, no, I have no time to get started in real estate. It's time consuming to manage tenants and, meet with people and, screen tenants and do all that stuff. So that's a, limiting belief. I pretty much broke down through my speech. And then the other one's like, oh, I have no money. You need money to buy a house. You need money to renovate a house. You need money, money, money. I have no access to capital or money. I don't know anybody who has money. Real estate is not for me. So both of these are limiting beliefs. And if you have one of the two, you can get started in real estate. So for example, if you have no money, but you have time, you can wholesale. It requires no money at all, right? You just find people that own properties that are in, let's say, desperate situations or that need to sell their home or it's not approved, it's not on market yet. You pretty much get a contract with them, and then you sell that contract, the right to that contract, to a different investor and collect the premium. It's very similar to options, where you can buy a call option, which is the opportunity to control the underlying assets, which is 100 shares of a stock. And then if that contract, if the underlying price goes higher, you can sell that contract to somebody else. let's say I buy one Amazon call, I didn't have to, buy 100 shares of Amazon, but I just waited for those shares to climb, and then I resold that contract to another buyer who again has a belief that it's worth more.
Yeah, so
in
you
the
just
future.
collect that premium, almost like kind of upsell it a little bit.
Exactly. So you do that, right?
Okay.
Or you can, let's say, become a real estate agent. It takes less than $500, get your license, and then you can start selling properties, meeting people, and networking, and making introductions for people, and becoming valuable and being compensated for that. That requires a lot of time. So I was like, that's not for me because I'm involved in so many other businesses and traveling, and I don't have a lot more time to devote to real estate. So those two are kind of out of the way.
Yeah.
There's a few more in that bucket. So let me explore this other aspect here. I'm like, fix and flipping. Well, that doesn't really make sense because I have to spend a lot of time, remodeling a property, getting all ready, and all that just to get rid of it and sell it. Like, I don't want to put in so much time and effort and energy into making something pretty nice, buy shitty, sell pretty type of thing.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but then you're having a short-term capital gain on the property, so you have to pay taxes on that. You get no long-term appreciation because you got rid of the property. Like, there's no benefit to fix and flipping.
Yeah.
To me personally, fix and flipping is the worst approach because it's not scalable. You don't get any tax benefits. You don't get any long-term appreciation.
Yep.
I was like, what else is there? I'm like, I can do real estate development, which again resonated with me because I had money from trading to deploy, but I had no time to really oversee projects or fix leaking toilets or get, calls from tenants being like, hey, my roof just collapsed or whatever. So for me, the pros of development and why I chose that route is, number one is I get my time back. I buy back my time.
Yep. I
check on a project maybe once, 2-3 weeks, just drive by and see if everything's cool. But other than that, I have somebody, building the properties, and I can pretty much get keys handed to me at the end when the product is finished. Obviously, the learning phase of it, you're going to have to invest time to learn the whole processes, but once you've kind of narrowed down your process, it's a rinse and repeat type of thing.
Yeah.
And, I resonated with that also because I get a brand new property that's also insured for the first couple of years and warranted by the builder. So let's say if something major happens, if the wall collapses, roof collapses, I'm not liable. The builder comes out and they fix it, right? So I was like, okay, so that's another thing because of
that's 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, well, it depends on your agreement.
Yeah.
But with an old property, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. If it's a 1940s property, you don't know what's behind the walls. You don't know what kind of underlying issue the property might have, and then you get a tenant in there, and then you're pretty much getting yourself a new job to consistently maintain, manage, and do all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then with new construction stuff, it's also catered and tiered towards a different type of clientele. I like to deal with, people who can afford nice things, who can pay higher rent and live in a nice area rather than buying some torn down 1950s home, like a 2-bedroom house somewhere in the hood, and then trying to get shot collecting rent. I'm not trying to do that.
For sure.
Right? So all those things kind of resonated with me, and that's why I went the development route.
Would you say that that's more the most expensive route out of all the options of real estate?
Well, there's creative financing, obviously, but again, you need people connections for that, and you need either other personal assets to back that funding, or you need to have good credit standing, so high credit score. Have a history of that. So it's a little bit more complicated to get started with that. But if you don't have access to so much capital, you either do smaller deals, raise money from people who trust you. Yeah. It's hard to do if you haven't done any projects, so start with other ones, which is, again, be a realtor, be a wholesaler, facilitate introductions between people, get to know your way around the markets, and then move into this one.
Yeah, for sure. So. Interesting. That's so interesting. Just even like seeing your stories and seeing what you've developed, it's really seems like it's one of the best routes to go. You get this brand new building. I didn't even know about the warranty. You get the tax benefits, and then it's not like instant. Obviously, there's still some financing to it, but then you're just instantly getting that cash flow from tenants.
Right,
or
the
Airbnb.
Tenants or the Airbnb, people that are paying down your mortgage.
Exactly, and you're making a little bit of cash flow off of that.
Right. Again, for Airbnb, I'd rather have a brand new property with all the amenities and everything is nice, and you can charge higher nightly rates and everything.
Yeah, It's almost like a no-brainer to go the development route. It's interesting. So, this is a general question, so I know it might be tough to answer because there's so many different. Like, you could do a 3-bedroom house, 2-bedroom house, but let's just say somebody wanted to, in this area somewhere, they wanted to build a 2-bedroom house. What would they have to finance or put up front, or what do you think is a good amount of capital to start with? Just like a basic home.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have a reverse approach. I finance everything with cash up front, pay for everything with cash up front, then I take cash out refis, just because, again, I don't want to be stuck paying interest on loans.
Of course.
If there's, especially the market we've been on with delays, material shortages, yada, 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 right? So that's the approach I've been taking. But again, depends really where. In Tampa, you can find a lot of parcel of land, for a single family home.
Yeah.
If you're, a little bit of a worse area, again, location really matters to me a lot.
Yeah.
I would say between 50 and 250 grand for just a piece of land, and then to build, again, depending on how nice of a finish is, material, but generally speaking, I would say to estimate like a normal basic, house, you're going to be paying about $140 to $200 a foot to build. So if you have, let's say, a 2,000 square foot home at $150 a foot, that's $300K to build that house.
Yeah.
So.
But then you can do the refinance, the cash.
Yeah, you can refinance it. There's construction to perm loans that lenders can give you, where you're only putting down 10 to 20% of the actual build cost, and then they bring the rest of the money to the table. But then again, you're complicating things because now you have lender involved. Now they want to make sure everything's up to their standards, and they send an inspector every week to make sure everything's completed. They don't release the money to the builder until he provides them, documentation that just drags out the process a little bit more.
And the way the interest rates are nowadays, it's probably not the best to be financing things like that. So it sounds like the recipe is either save up cash, do cash out refi, pay cash up front, or build yourself up to that cash point to be able to start the development round.
Right. It just depends on the deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you find a good deal, it doesn't matter if the rate is 7% or 25%. If the deal is there, then it makes sense, right? There's a saying in real estate, you marry the property and you date the interest rate.
Yeah.
Because you can always, you marry the deal, the property's what's the core thing. You get married to it. This is like the thing you want. The interest rate, you kind of, it's like dating different people. You date it for, 3-4 years, and then interest rates go down, become better. You refinance again, pull some equity out, and get a better interest rate, so that's kind of the saying.
You might have to develop a consultation business to give all this knowledge that you've absorbed.
All right. Well, come to our events and conferences.
To NetCon, absolutely, man. That's crazy. So you have all these things that you've developed over time. Coming over here from Russia, such an inspiring story, and being able to be so successful in 22 years of life. So coming from Russia, dropping out of school, going to Miami, flipping stuff on the internet, to getting into trading, mastering trading, and now into real estate. There's so much that you've accomplished so far. Tell us what your next move is to continue the success.
For me, it's very interesting because I have a long-term vision of what I really want to do with my life in terms of impact, but I don't have goals that are out farther than like 6 months in terms of business or what I'm going to do, because I found that life is so unpredictable that 6 months is such a long period of time that so many new variables change that affect that plan, that there's no need to plan out, because people make it like to the T. This is what I'm going to be in 1 year, 5 years, 3 years, whatever. And then, something like the virus or the flu hits or something. And then, all your plans get thrown out the window, or, somebody passes away, or, you get exposed to a new person who introduces you to a new opportunity. You want to pivot. So, I try not to plan more than 3 to 6 months ahead in terms of like things that I'm going to execute on. But in terms of grand vision, obviously I want to have a lot of impact, similar to what I shared with you on the event side, where somebody came up to me and told me that, I had that kind of impact on them. So
yeah, that's amazing, man. But your story is incredible so far, and I'm excited to be hopefully a part of it as you continue on this progress to success, man. But this has been great. And is there any last words that you wanted to give to the people? Any
just
motivation?
If anybody wants to connect with me, shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's at Mr. Simon Lerner.
Yes, sir.
Simon Lerner on all other platforms, whether it's YouTube or TikTok. Just make sure, guys, not to fall for impersonation fake accounts. We have a lot of those. I know Scott and I both have tons of impersonators. So just FYI, guys, I will never DM you asking you for money. I don't trade for other people. I don't manage people's money. I didn't work hard for your money, so I'm not going to be the sole decision maker behind what happens to it anyway. But just make sure to do your due diligence and stay hustling, stay busy, and
Let's go, man. Let's go,
keep
man.
working.
You are an inspiration. I will be plugging your socials in at the end of the
Gotcha.
podcast,
Awesome,
so we'll
awesome.
make sure that everybody knows that. But make sure if you can connect with this man, he is a life changer. So a lot of knowledge, a lot of value to bring. Simon Lerner, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, boy.